After successfully conquering the dimensions with my brother in arms, I chose to transcend the world and ascend. My best friend, Caleb York, however, chose to stay behind for the woman he loved. 7 years later, having mastered cosmic power, I reversed time and space to come back for a visit. But the Azure Order he built with his own hands had changed beyond recognition. His biological son was holding another man's hand, sweetly calling him Dad. His wife was leaning into that man's embrace, a docility on her face I had never seen before. Even the apprentice I had personally raised was now that man's respectful disciple. The man ate Caleb's food, wore his clothes, used his gear, and lived in the Grandmaster's hall, surrounded by my brother's possessions. The only thing missing was my brother. There wasn't even a memorial plaque. Looking at this rewritten world, I couldn't hold back my fist any longer. I grabbed my internal system by the collar within my mind and let out a psychic scream. Where's my brother? Where's my damn brother? The return 7 years might be the blink of an eye for an immortal, but for me, Lance Sterling, it felt like a lifetime. I had ascended from this small world, entered the vast cosmic realm, survived hell, and finally became a celestial warlord. Today, on a whim, I burned my core energy to tear through the void, returning to the world I once conquered with Caleb York, just to see him. We were world walkers back then. Mission complete, I chose to leave. He chose to give up his status for a woman named Sarah and live as a carefree sect leader. Stupid kid, giving up immortality for love. I wonder if he regrets it. My skiff pierced the atmospheric barrier, and the familiar gates of the Azure Order came into view. But a second later, the smile froze on my face. In front of the gates, the statue that should have depicted Caleb and me standing shoulder to shoulder was gone. In its place stood a statue of a stranger, handsome, imposing. The inscription read, Grandmaster Marcus Kane. Marcus Kane? Who was this nobody giving himself top billing? My heart sank. My psychic senses spread out like a tide, instantly covering the entire Azure Order. In front of the main hall, a boy of about 6 or 7 was practicing his sword swings. His voice was childish, but his eyebrows held a trace of Caleb's shadow. A man in moon-white robes walked up, gently correcting his stance. Nate, keep your wrist steady. Center your breathing. The boy looked up, a brilliant smile on his face. Got it, Dad. The word Dad exploded in my brain like a thunderclap. That wasn't Caleb. Behind the boy, a stunningly beautiful woman walked out. It was Sarah. She walked up to the man, naturally adjusting his collar, her eyes soft as water. The man was the Marcus Kane from the statue. My blood congealed instantly. Caleb's son called another man Dad. Caleb's wife looked at another man with love. Unbelievable. 7 years, and before the grave grass is even green, she's replaced the homeowner? I stepped forward, teleporting instantly to the plaza. My power made the air stagnant, and everyone's eyes snapped toward me. Who are you? Marcus's eyes flashed with vigilance as he shielded Sarah and the child behind him. I ignored him, staring dead at Sarah, my voice cold enough to freeze hell. Sarah, where is Caleb? Sarah's body trembled imperceptibly before she regained her composure, looking at me with indifferent eyes, as if at a stranger. Sir, you're mistaken. Caleb was my late husband. He died in the beast tide 7 years ago. Died? I laughed a grim sound. Why don't I believe that? Believe it or not. What is it to you? Her tone was distant. The Azure Order does not welcome outsiders. Please leave. The boy, Nate, short for Nathan, peeked out from behind Marcus, looking at me with curiosity and fear. My chest felt tight. I walked forward, step by step. Kid, your name is Nathan, right? Name for remembrance. Your father gave you that name. My dad is Marcus. Nate shouted back, looking at the man beside him with adoration. Change his last name too. Caleb, you died too pathetic a death. Enough, Sarah shouted, a flash of resolve and pleading in her eyes. I paused, catching that fleeting anomaly deep in her gaze. Something was wrong. Master Lance, a crisp voice rang out. I looked over to see a young woman rushing over. It was Lily, the apprentice I had taken in years ago. She saw me, her face lighting up with surprise, then instantly draining of color. She quickly walked to Marcus's side and bowed. Master, Master? I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. The apprentice I raised with my own hands now called this man Master. They ate Caleb's food, wore his clothes, lived his life. The whole world seemed to have betrayed Caleb. Good? Very good. I laughed in extreme anger, a sliver of my warlord pressure leaking out uncontrolled. The mountains of the Azure Order began to hum and tremble. Marcus's face changed drastically as he struggled to stand. Who exactly are you? Why are you causing trouble in my order? I retracted my aura, gave Sarah a deep look, and swept my gaze over the terrified Lily. My name is Lance Sterling. I am Caleb's brother. I came back to find him. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see the body. I turned to leave, my voice carrying back from the distance. 3 days. Give me an explanation. Otherwise, I don't mind giving the Azure Order a new owner. And this time, it would be a real owner. I found a room at an inn in the trading post at the foot of the mountain. After the anger came a bone-deep chill and massive suspicion. Sarah wasn't a fickle woman. Caleb had given up his status as a world walker for her, and her affection couldn't have been fake. Lily was raised by me. She was simple-hearted, not an ingrate. But their reactions were like knives stabbing my heart. When things are this abnormal, there's a demon at work. There must be a secret I don't know. I didn't choose to storm the place. Alerting the enemy would only make things worse. Priority 1. Investigation. My psychic senses spread out again, this time more subtle, like a trickling stream penetrating every corner of the Azure Order, listening to the disciples' conversations. Who was that guy at the plaza today? Scavioha. Don't know. Heard he's an old friend of the former Grandmaster. But didn't the former Grandmaster die 7 years ago? Sure. Don't talk nonsense. Grandmaster Marcus is in charge now. He's been good to us. If he hadn't turned the tide 7 years ago, the Azure Order would have been flattened by the beasts. Exactly. Grandmaster Marcus is benevolent. He even adopted the former Grandmaster's orphan as his own. A true saint. Public opinion was overwhelmingly praising Marcus. Caleb's death was defined as sacrificing for the Order. Marcus's rise was taking command in a crisis, saving the day. A perfect script. See, Miss Pat, this guy is not simple. I slipped into the Order's archives, where the J-data logs of all major events were kept. I opened a record from 7 years ago. It clearly stated, Year 683 of the Azure Era, the Black Wind Mountains erupted with a millennial beast tide. Grandmaster Caleb York, defending the gates, martyred himself. Body lost. Vice Grandmaster Marcus Kane took command, slew the Beast King, and succeeded the position. The recorder was the first elder, Wallace. I remembered him, a stubborn, pedantic old man, but loyal to Caleb. I decided to pay him a visit. Elder Wallace's residence was quiet and secluded. I masked my presence and slipped in. Wallace was meditating in the courtyard. His hair and beard were white. His face aged decades beyond 7 years, a knot of grief between his brows. I revealed myself. Who? Wallace snapped his eyes open. Upon seeing my face, his cloudy eyes burst with disbelief. Lance? Lance? You're back. His voice trembled, and he stood up in excitement. Elder Wallace, it's been a while. I got straight to the point. Tell me, what really happened 7 years ago? Wallace's face went pale instantly. His lips quivered, his eyes darting around in terror, as if something were watching him. He grabbed me, communicating via telepathy. It's not safe here. Come with me. He led me into a secret chamber and activated dozens of privacy wards. Lance, you have to go. Leave this place and never come back. Wallace gripped my arm, old tears streaming down his face. The Azure Order is not the Azure Order anymore. How did Caleb die? I asked, my voice heavy. I don't know. Wallace shook his head painfully. The beast tide was strange that day. The Grandmaster took Marcus and a few elders to intercept it. But in the end, only a heavily injured Marcus returned. He said the Grandmaster was swallowed by the Beast King to cover their retreat. No remains. And you believe that? I didn't believe it at first. Wallace said agitatedly. But the whole sect, all the survivors told the same story. Even the Grandmaster's wife admitted it. I sent people to investigate, but found nothing. It was as if an invisible hand wiped away all traces. He paused, lowering his mental voice. The weirdest part is from that day on, people in the sect started forgetting the old Grandmaster's goodness, remembering only Marcus's grace. Many people, including me, sometimes get sudden headaches, and then memories of Caleb get fuzzy. It's like someone is editing our memories. Editing memories. A terrible thought surfaced. The Guardian Ward. I spat out the words. Wallace froze, then realization dawned, followed by horror. You mean, Marcus controls the Guardian Ward? The Azure Order's Guardian Ward was built by Caleb and me. Besides defense, it had a core function, cohesion. It could subliminally enhance the disciples' sense of belonging. If someone tampered with the core, they could reverse it to influence minds, removing the fuel from under the cauldron. This Marcus is definitely not an ordinary man. Elder Wallace, do me a favor. I looked at him. Give me the blueprints of the ward. Wallace didn't hesitate. He pulled a data crystal from his storage ring. This is the backup blueprint from back then. Lance, be careful. Marcus's power is unfathomable, and he's evil. Taking the blueprint, I didn't stay long. Before I left, Wallace stopped me and shoved something into my hand. It was a broken jade pendant with only a fragmented character for York on it. This was found on the edge of the battlefield. It was the Grandmaster's personal item. I've kept it hidden. I took the pendant. It was cold to the touch. This was the token Caleb and I shared. 1/2 each. I clenched it tight. This was a mid-level clue, a crack in Marcus's perfect defense. He could alter memories and wipe traces, but he couldn't wipe away this physical object. Nor could he wipe away Lance Sterling's memories and rage. Moonlight fell like water as I quietly arrived at Lily's quarters. As my only apprentice, she was a crucial breach point in my plan. In the courtyard, Lily was practicing swordplay. Her strikes were sharp. Her cultivation reached the late gold core stage, much improved since I left. But the technique she used was no longer the free spirit style I taught her. It was a domineering, ruthless set of moves, faintly leaking dark energy. Rotten to the root. I sighed internally and revealed myself. Who? Lily spun around alertly, her sword tip pointing straight at my throat. When she saw it was me, her hand trembled violently. Surprise, panic, guilt. Complex emotions flashed in her eyes. Mas. Master. Her voice was dry. I'm not your master, I said flatly. Isn't your master Marcus? Lily's face whitened. She bit her lip and lowered her head. Master, please let me explain. 7 years ago, it was It was Master Marcus who saved the Azure Order. He guided my training. So, you comfortably forgot your senior brother Caleb? Forgot who picked you up from the mountain, who taught you to read and fight. My voice wasn't loud, but every word was an execution. I didn't forget. Lily looked up agitatedly, her eyes red. I remember every day. But Brother Caleb is dead. People have to look forward. Dead? Did you see it with your own eyes? She was tongue-tied. I heard Master Marcus say it. Everyone says it. You believe whatever others say. I pressed closer. Where's your own brain? Where is your heart? Caleb treated you like a sister. He dies, and you don't doubt it for a second, instead bowing down to a man of unknown origin. Lily, is this the way I taught you? No. She backed away, tears bursting forth. I doubted it, but I couldn't find anything. Everyone said I was crazy, that I was disrespecting the new Grandmaster. Even Sister Sarah told me to let it go. Her emotions collapsed, finally spilling the truth. As I thought, she hasn't been completely blinded. I softened my tone. Lily, look me in the eye. Tell me what you feel about Marcus. Lily sobbed, speaking in broken sentences. Master Marcus, he treats me well, treats the sect well. But sometimes I feel he's terrifying. His smile, his gentleness, it's like a mask. And since he came, no one dares mention Brother Caleb's name. It's like a taboo. She paused, as if making a decision, and took a pill from her robe. This is the calm heart pill Master gave me. He says it helps cultivation. But I secretly had it tested. It contains forget-me grass. Long-term use degrades memory and makes one obedient. This was another key mid-level clue. Drug control combined with the ward's influence. Marcus, you really have methods. Master, what should I do? I feel Sister Sarah has her troubles too. She looked like she wanted to speak several times, but every time Marcus appeared, she changed into a different person. Give me the pill. I took it and boxed it. From today on, don't touch anything he gives you. Act as usual. Don't show any flaws. I need you to do one thing for me at the critical moment. Lily nodded vigorously, her eyes regaining firmness. Master, if we can find the truth about Brother Caleb, I will die trying. Good. I looked at her, showing my first smile in 7 years. That's Lance Sterling's apprentice. With Lily secured, I felt settled. I had a key piece on the board. Next, it was time to meet that Tamper Guardian ward. The night was deep. Like a ghost, I avoided all patrol disciples and arrived at the forbidden grounds in the back mountain of the Azure Order. This was the location of the ward's core. When Caleb and I set it up back then, we joked that it was impregnable unless the two of us joined forces to break it. Now, let's see who has the skill to tamper with our life's work right under my brother's nose. The core was located in a massive natural cavern. Countless crystals and runes formed a complex, arcane matrix, rotating slowly, emitting majestic energy. I took out Elder Wallace's backup blueprint and sank my mind into it, comparing it with the formation before me. One look, and I sucked in a cold breath. The surface structure hadn't changed, but at the 36 core nodes, a strange rune I'd never seen before had been implanted. These runes were like maggots on a bone, parasitic to the original array, emitting a faint dark mist, constantly twisting the energy released by the ward. The original energy of cohesion was twisted into beguilement. It didn't brainwash forcefully. Instead, like boiling a frog in warm water, it day by day weakened memories of Caleb while amplifying positive emotions toward Marcus. Living under this ward, the subconscious naturally deified Marcus. What a vicious method. This is not magic of this world. I could almost guarantee that this Marcus, like Caleb and me, was an outsider. But he wasn't a world walker. He was more like a parasite or raider. I attempted to touch one of the tampered nodes with my psychic sense to analyze the weird rune. The instant my mind touched the rune, the entire ward shuddered. A cold, evil-filled with devouring desire lunged back along my psychic link. Who dare spy on my domain? A cold voice exploded in my brain. It was Marcus. I instantly severed the link and retreated. Detected. This guy actually bound his soul to the ward. He hadn't just tampered with the ward. He had made himself the AI of the system. This meant the entire Azure Order was under his absolute control. No movement could escape him. This explained why Elder Wallace was so terrified and why Sarah dared not move. They were living in a giant prison. Boom! Outside the forbidden grounds, a powerful aura shot into the sky. Marcus's voice rang through the night. Which rat dares trespass in the Azure Forbidden Grounds? You seek death. He was coming. I sneered. I didn't stay to fight. My figure flashed, disappearing into the night. A head-on clash wasn't wise, especially on his home turf. Back at the inn, my heart was pounding. Marcus's power far exceeded my expectations. Merged with the ward, he was invincible on this acre of land. To win, I had to break the ward. But to break the ward, I had to bypass his surveillance. It was a deadlock, unless there is someone on the inside who can create an opportunity for me when he least expects it. Sarah's cold, complex face floated in my mind. Perhaps the key to unlocking this dead end lay with her. The next day, I changed my strategy. Instead of investigating in the shadows, I openly stayed at the Azure Order as Caleb's old friend. Marcus seemed to want to figure out my background, so he didn't refuse. Instead, he acted extremely magnanimous, treating me as a VIP. A silent chess match began. Marcus played the perfect successor in front of me. He told me the truth of 7 years ago, his words earnest and watertight, painting himself as a tragic hero who had to shoulder the burden after his brother's death. He took me on a tour. Every disciple respected him from the bottom of their hearts. He handled Sect affairs with clarity. He taught Nate with patience and love. To Sarah, he was considerate and caring. Everything was perfect, perfect like a rehearsed play. Act. Keep acting. The Academy owes you an Oscar. On the surface, I remained impassive, occasionally agreeing with him. But secretly, my senses were running wild, catching every detail. I saw it. When Marcus smiled and fixed Nate's collar, there was a fleeting greed in the depths of his eyes, like he was admiring a trophy about to be his. I saw it. When Sarah served tea to Marcus, the hatred and humiliation in her lowered eyes. And I saw it clearly at a Sect banquet. Marcus announced to the crowd that to better care for Nate and Sarah, he would officially marry Sarah at the grand ceremony in 1 month. The crowd cheered like thunder. Only Sarah, holding her wine cup, trembled. Her face went as pale as paper. At that moment, I understood everything. This wasn't warmth. This was poison. Marcus was eroding and swallowing everything that belonged to Caleb step by step. His reputation, his sect, his wife, his son. He wanted to wipe away every trace of Caleb's existence and replace him. This was 10,000 times crueler than just killing him. After the banquet, I found a chance to corner Sarah alone behind the rock garden in the courtyard. How long are you going to keep acting? I asked bluntly. Sarah stiffened, looking up with wary eyes. I don't know what you mean. Stop pretending. I stared into her eyes. Marcus wants to marry you. If you were truly compliant, you wouldn't have almost crushed that cup. Her defense finally cracked. What do you want? Her voice trembled. What do I want? I sneered. I want to save you. Save Nate. Save Caleb. But first, you have to tell me the truth. There is no truth. She growled in a low voice. The truth is Caleb is dead, and Marcus is the hero. Leave before it's too late. She tried to push me away, but I grabbed her wrist. Look at me, I said word by word. Is there a symbiotic kill switch curse in your son's body? Sarah looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. She froze, horror exploding in her eyes. How did you know? Guessed, but looks like I was right. I continued. This curse links 2 lives. The caster is Marcus. The victims are you and Nate. If Marcus wills it, you both die instantly, right? Sarah's psychological defense collapsed completely. She slumped to the ground, tears suppressed for 7 years rushing out. Sarah's crying was filled with despair, helplessness, and monstrous hatred. 7 years ago, the Beast Tide was a hoax. She haltingly told the buried truth. That day, Marcus colluded with dark sorcerers to set a trap. He lured Caleb deep into the mountains and ambushed him. Caleb was outnumbered and heavily injured. He didn't die. Hope ignited in my heart. No. Sarah shook her head painfully. Marcus crippled his power and extracted his consciousness, suppressing it in the void vault deep in the forbidden grounds. He said he wanted to devour Caleb's destiny and soul bit by bit to strengthen himself. Devouring destiny. The string of my mind snapped. This Marcus was indeed a devourer, a type of existence more evil than world walkers. They travel dimensions specifically to find children of destiny, replace them when they were weak, and plunder everything. Caleb was this world's protagonist, and Marcus's target. He used Nate's life to threaten me, forcing me to play along and stabilize his position. Sarah's voice was dead. I live in a nightmare every day, watching him occupy the nest, watching Nate call our enemy dad, and I could do nothing. Where's the void vault? I interrupted, my voice ice. Right under the ward core. Marcus set 9 layers of restrictions there, linked to the main ward. If you force your way in, he'll know instantly. Nate, I know. I took a deep breath and helped her up. From now on, you don't need to do anything. Keep acting. Leave the rest to me. Sarah looked at me, a faint hope rekindling in her eyes. That night, without hesitation, I infiltrated the forbidden grounds again. This time, I had a clear target, the void vault. Relying on my knowledge of the ward, I carefully bypassed Marcus's surveillance and reached the cavern. In the center of the cavern lay an abyss shrouded in thick black mist. The void vault, 9 layers of seals, interlinked, emitted a heart-palpitating, evil aura. Trying to stop me? Dreaming. I was a cosmic warlord. These mortal restrictions were intricate, but not unbreakable. I didn't choose brute force. I sat cross-legged, my mind turning into thousands of threads, picking apart the structure of seals. It was mentally exhausting work. Time ticked by, sweat beading on my forehead. Finally, before dawn, I found the only weak point. I focused all my celestial energy into one finger and tapped the node. Click. The 9 layers stalled for a split second. Now, I turned into a stream of light and dove into the vault. Below was endless darkness and cold. At the bottom, a giant black cocoon floated, surrounded by wailing spirits. Inside the cocoon sat a figure, weak and fading. Caleb. His eyes were closed, the fire of his soul so dim it looked ready to go out. Brother. I rushed over, my voice shaking. Hearing my call, Caleb's soul trembled. He opened his eyes with difficulty, a weak thought transmitting to my mind. Lance? Run. It's a trap. Before he finished, the vault shook violently. The giant black cocoon instantly morphed into a hideous ghost face, swallowing toward me. Ha ha. Lance, I've been waiting for you. Marcus's voice echoed in the abyss. You think you moved unnoticed? From the moment you stepped into the Azure Order, you were in my palm. Suppressing Caleb is real. Using him as bait for you is also real. Devouring a warlord like you will let me ascend to godhood. So this was the endgame. The core clues connected. I was his real prey. Marcus's maniacal laughter echoed in the void vault. The giant face made of black mist lunged at me with endless greed. A broken world child of destiny, plus a reckless warlord who doesn't know his place. Heaven helps me. So it's a chain trap. Catch my brother to use as bait, then fish for the bigger shark. Nice calculation. Too bad you miscalculated one thing. I looked at the giant face. Instead of fear, I smiled. You think I really came unprepared? My hands formed a seal. Cosmic thunder, hear my command. Break! Boom! A blinding golden lightning bolt erupted from my body, without warning, lighting up the abyss. The bolt didn't strike Marcus. It slammed precisely into the rock wall of the vault. There, hidden in the spot I had touched while analyzing the seals, was a backdoor I had planted, an energy node linked to the external Guardian ward. Crack! The entire Guardian ward seized up. Far away in the Grandmaster's hall, Marcus's main body grunted, clearly suffering backlash. In the vault, the black mist face dispersed by half. You can reverse control my ward. Marcus sounded shocked and furious. Yours? I scoffed. My brother and I built this thing eating hot pot and singing songs. A thief like you deserves to call it yours? While he was shaken, I flashed to Caleb's side, injecting gentle energy to protect his core. Brother, hang on. Lance? Caleb's consciousness cleared slightly. Don't talk. Watch me get revenge. I turned to face the reforming mist face. Battle lust skyrocketing. Marcus, your biggest mistake was touching my brother. However, Marcus laughed wildly again. Naive, you think this is over? You broke my seal, but you gave me an opening. As his voice fell, alarm bells rang in my head. He spoke coldly. Sarah, what are you waiting for? Kill him, or your son dies right now. It was a command, sent directly through the kill switch. I shrank back. At that moment, a sharp sword glint stabbed silently toward my back. Cold, decisive killing intent. The attacker was Sarah. She had appeared in the vault without me noticing. What? How? I didn't have time to think. I slapped backhand, clashing with the sword. Clang. Sarah was knocked back, blood at the corner of her lips, but her eyes were cold, emotionless. Ha ha ha. Marcus gloated. See that, Lance? This is human nature. For her son, she'll kill anyone, even her savior. Sarah. I looked at her, conflicting emotions churning. However, Sarah's next move stunned me. She steadied herself. She didn't attack me again. Instead, she turned the sword and stabbed it without hesitation into her own heart. Shick. The blade went through. Blood dyed her white dress red. Marcus, you used Nate to threaten me. I couldn't fight back, but my life is my own. I'd rather die than be your knife against them. She entered the game with her life to break Marcus's hold. You lunatic. Marcus hadn't expected Sarah to be so fierce. He roared in shock. The kill switch. If one party dies, the other is unharmed, but the spell itself temporarily breaks. She used her life to buy Nate and me a chance. What a fierce woman. Caleb, you picked a good one. I felt endless respect watching her fall. I dashed forward, catching her before she hit the ground, pouring massive amounts of energy into her to suspend her last breath. Hold on. I won't let you die. With Sarah's suicide attempt, Marcus lost his final leverage. His anger turned to pure killing intent. Phoenix. Then you all die together. The black mist of the vault rushed at me like a tsunami. Facing Marcus's thunderous rage, I held the dying Sarah and didn't retreat. I stepped forward. Marcus, you think you won? I looked cold at the rolling mist. Your trump card is gone. My show is just starting. I made a one-handed seal, wrapping Sarah in gold light to stabilize her. I set her down gently, stood up, and faced the demonic energy. You think that thunderbolt was just to break your seal? I smirked. My real goal was this. I stomped my foot. The entire vault and the guardian ward above trembled violently. Golden runes spread from my feet, instantly covering the abyss. These were the scripts I secretly inscribed while analyzing the seals. Array, activate! I shouted. Hum! The majestic spiritual power of the guardian ward was forcibly redirected by me, pouring backward into the void vault. This energy was pure and righteous, incompatible with Marcus's dark power. It clashed violently. Marcus screamed in agony. His dark soul was being frantically purified by the massive positive energy. Impossible. How? How can you control the ward's source power in my domain? Because this ward's last name is York and Sterling. I said proudly. You outsider thief. You stole my house and thought you were the owner. I used the fact that he bound his soul to the ward against him. He could monitor the ward. Then I could use the ward to attack his soul directly. This was a trap I set. Invite him in, then close the door and beat the dog. Time to pay the bill. I held nothing back. My warlord-level mind unleashed, forming a golden greatsword, slashing at Marcus's soul. No. Marcus screamed in terror. He never imagined his carefully laid trap would be overturned so easily. He tried to cut the link to the ward, but it was too late. I had locked him to the core position with my runes. He was a sitting duck. First strike for my brother Caleb. The golden psychic sword slashed down, splitting the mist face. Second strike for Sarah. Another slash. The mist grew faint. Third strike for my apprentice Lily. Fourth strike for the Azure Order you deceived. Slash after slash, each containing monstrous rage. Marcus's screams turned from anger to fear, then to begging. Mercy. Warlord, mercy. I was wrong. I submit. I'll give you all my treasures. Begging now? Too late. I prepared the final strike to end him. But suddenly, Caleb's remnant soul sent a weak thought. Lance? Keep him alive. His dark soul is useful to me. I paused. I understood. Caleb's soul had been devoured for 7 years. His foundation was damaged. If he could reverse devour Marcus's pure, dark soul, he could not only repair the damage, but perhaps break through his limits. All right, brother. Your call. I retracted the sword, switching to sealing hand signs, compressing the heavily damaged Marcus into a black sphere of light. Then I pushed the sphere to Caleb. Brother, here's your loot. Eat up. Done. I exhaled a long breath. I had won the shadow war. I picked up the unconscious Sarah, glanced at Caleb absorbing the soul, and left the vault. Outside, a big show was waiting for me to finish. Half a month later, the Azure Order Grand Ceremony. This was the day Marcus had announced he would marry Sarah. The order was decorated with lanterns and banners, joyous and festive. The disciples were immersed in the joy of the Grandmaster's wedding, unaware a storm was coming. In front of the Grand Hall on the high platform, Marcus stood in red robes, looking spirited. His main body had been sitting in the hall, while the one in the vault was a powerful split consciousness. That consciousness was sealed by me, and his main body was heavily damaged, face pale, but he suppressed it with secret arts. Outsiders couldn't tell. He thought I was still trapped in the vault. He wanted to use this chance to complete the ritual, steal the last of Sarah's destiny, and merge with the Order's luck completely. By then, even if I got out, I couldn't touch him. Counting your chickens. Too bad you don't know who the fox is. I, Lance Sterling, was already out. I was blending into the crowd of guests, looking like a nobody. The auspicious time has arrived. Welcome the bride, the MC shouted. Supported by two maids, Sarah walked up the platform in a wedding dress. Her wound had been healed by my celestial elixir. Her face was expressionless, eyes empty like a puppet. This was part of the plan. Marcus looked at her, greed and triumph in his eyes. He reached out to take her hand. That was when I moved. Marcus, did you ask me before marrying my brother's woman? A detached voice rang clearly across the plaza. Everyone froze, looking over. I stepped out of the crowd, walking up the platform. Every step seemed to land on their heartbeats. You. Marcus saw me, pupils shrinking violently, blood draining from his face. You. How could you be out? Why can't I be out? I smiled. Did you think your cheap tricks could hold me? The crowd went into an uproar. Who is this? Disrespecting the Grandmaster. Is he crazy? Marcus forced calm, shouting, Lance, stop spouting nonsense and disrupting my ceremony. Guards, take it down. Several elders rushed up. I didn't even look at them. I just snapped my fingers. Time for everyone to wake up. Snap. As the sound rang out, the Guardian Ward covering the Order shuddered. The 36 core nodes were instantly reset by me. The beguilement power that had squatted in everyone's brains for 7 years retreated like a tide, replaced by pure cohesion and clarity. My head hurts. In the plaza, disciples and the rushing elders clutched their heads in pain. Countless sealed, tampered memories flooded back. Grandmaster Caleb's warm smile. Caleb teaching them. Caleb fighting the beast tide to the death. Scene after scene, crystal clear, contrasted with Marcus's fake face and those implanted memories of gratitude. Truth and lies clashed in their minds. Doubt, shock, horror, and finally, explosive anger. I remember, Grandmaster Caleb was killed by Marcus. The beast tide was a conspiracy. He used drugs to control us. Animal, give us back our Grandmaster. The crowd's reaction escalated perfectly. Marcus's face lost all color. His empire of lies, built over 7 years, collapsed in an instant. The dagger was drawn. You bunch of idiots. You should be thanking me. Seeing the lie popped, Marcus finally tore off the mask of hypocrisy, revealing his hideous true face. Without me, the Azure Order would be dust. That waste Caleb only knew how to be conservative. I gave you stronger techniques, more resources. Dark energy erupted from him, lifting him into the air. The pressure made it hard for disciples to breathe. Submit and prosper, resist and die. Today, anyone who disobeys gets killed without mercy. Classic villain speech. Can't you be original? I shook my head, sneering at his threat. Marcus, your opponent is me. I stepped up, floating into the air to face him. My Warlord aura released without reservation, instantly canceling his pressure. Warlord. Marcus's eyes flashed with fear and madness. So what if you're a warlord? Here, I am God. He spread his hands, and the mountain range began to shake. He wanted to use the ward's power again. Still dreaming. I mocked. You think I fixed the ward just to wake them up? I clasped my hands. Ward shift. Rumble. The energy of the Guardian Ward didn't nourish him. Instead, it turned into a massive golden cage, locking Marcus inside. No. Marcus slammed against the bars futilely. I told you, this is my house. I walked toward him slowly. Here, I am the god. Just as I was about to strike, a figure blocked my path. It was Lily. Master, please let the Azure Order handle this traitor. Revenge burned in her eyes. Behind her, Elder Wallace and all the awakened elders and disciples stood up, filled with righteous indignation. Yes, we will avenge the Grandmaster ourselves. Seeing their unity, I nodded. This was their feud. They should end it. I withdrew most of the cage's power, leaving only a binding that kept Marcus from escaping or using power beyond the basic level. Go! Kill! Lily led the charge, sword drawn, stabbing at Marcus with endless hate. A siege began. I turned to look deep into the Grand Hall. There, a translucent figure was slowly condensing. He wore the Azure Order robes, face gentle, eyes weak but filled with the joy of reunion. It was Caleb. He had absorbed Marcus's split soul, stabilizing his own enough to manifest. Brother. He looked at me. 1,000 words turned into one word. Brother. I walked up and hugged him, even though I passed through mist. We smiled. No words needed. On the other side, Marcus's battle was ending. Two fists can't fight four hands, especially suppressed. Finally, Lily drove a sword through his heart, pinning him to the stone pillar. But he didn't die immediately. He laughed spitefully. Kill me. You won't live well either. I already planted a dark seed in your geomantic power grid. In 10 years, this place will be a demon domain. Ha ha. At that moment, a gentle, firm voice spoke. Your dark seed is just a nutrient supplement to me. Caleb's soul floated to Marcus. He placed a hand on Marcus's forehead. Devouring you will purify the grid nicely. No. Don't. Real terror finally filled Marcus's eyes. Black smoke was drawn continuously from his body into Caleb. A 7 years late predation and counterpredation played out in full view. When the last wisp of black smoke was drained, Marcus's body turned to ash, scattering into the wind. Caleb's soul became much more solid, glowing with faint gold. He had purified Marcus and absorbed his power. A blessing in disguise. His soul power was now stronger than before. Silence in the plaza. Then, deafening cheers. The Grandmaster is back. Long live Grandmaster York. All disciples knelt, tears in their eyes. Rise, everyone. Caleb's voice was gentle but held undeniable authority. You have suffered these years. He looked at Lily and Elder Wallace with relief. Then, his gaze turned to the platform. Sarah had woken up, staring at him, tears streaming down her face. Nate broke free from Maid's hand, stumbling toward Caleb, but stopped 3 steps away, looking timidly at this familiar yet strange father. Nate, come here. Caleb's voice was full of guilt and love. Are you my dad? Nate asked quietly. Yes. Caleb crouched, trying to touch his son, but his hand passed through. I'm sorry. Dad is late. Dad. Nate couldn't hold back, rushing into the phantom embrace, crying loudly. Sarah walked over, and the family of 3 reunited in a special way. I stood aside, watching quietly, emotions swirling. Finally, a happy ending. The reckoning wasn't over. The disciples and elders who had truly sided with Marcus and aided his evil were rooted out and dealt with by Elder Wallace according to Sect rules. The Azure Order, after a massive catastrophe, began its rebirth. I found Caleb later. What's the plan? I asked. My body is destroyed. Only the soul remains. Caleb looked at the distance. I'll use the geomantic grid to reconstruct a physical form. It might take a few years. After that, I'll guard the Order, guard Sarah and Nate. Need a hand? No. He smiled. Brother, you've helped enough. I'll walk the rest of the road myself. I nodded. That was Caleb, always taking responsibility. That night, Sarah and Lily came specifically to thank me. Lance, words cannot express our gratitude. Sarah bowed deeply. Master. Lily threw herself at me, hugging my arm, crying and laughing. I patted her head. Train hard. Help your senior brother. I will. She nodded hard. Everything was moving in a good direction. My mission was over. Departure 3 months later. The Azure Order had completely restored order, thriving even more than before. Caleb's soul grew stronger daily under the nourishment of the grid. Reconstructing his body was just a matter of time. Sarah washed away her sorrow and began assisting Elder Wallace with management, showing extraordinary talent. Nate accepted that his dad was a being of light, and his favorite thing was chatting with his dad in the back mountain. Lily became the head disciple, her strength and prestige second only to the elders. I stood on the highest peak of the Azure Order, overlooking it all, my heart peaceful. System, prepare for extraction. I said in my mind. Command confirmed. Host Lance Sterling, do you choose to depart the current world immediately? The mechanical voice responded, yes. White light began to gather around me. Leaving, Caleb's soul appeared beside me. Yeah, I nodded. All parties must end. This is your home, not mine. Will you come back? I will. I smiled. When I crave a drink, I'll come find you. You better have a body ready by then, so we can spar properly. It's a promise. A promise. I took one last look at this land I had fought for, at the lights of the homes below. Then I turned and stepped into the white light without hesitation. My journey was the sea of stars. My brother had found his place. That was enough. The white light flashed, and my figure vanished from the peak of the Azure cloud, leaving only a legend, circulating in this world forever. Story complete.